The year is 2015, and MAPPA needs something to do. It has only been 3 years since Sakamichi no Opporon, their first series, aired. MAPPA are not yet a household name, having only recently split from Madhouse, and Madhouse seemed to be getting on just fine without them, since this year they would release both Death Parade and One Punch Man. MAPPA, on the other hand, had no clear direction at this point, though much their early reputation was their link to Shinichiro Watanabe, him directing both Sakamichi no Opporon and Zanki no Terror. While both have things worth praising, they weren't helpful when it came to making something that one could point to as being truly MAPPA. Well, all of that would change when MAPPA put out a new series, one that was completely original, and it was Garo the Carved Seal of Flames. But I haven't seen that one, so instead I'm talking about the anime where the cat has their porn tab open. Punchline is the anime I'm going to be talking about today, and it's an anime where the storyline is completely unhinged. No two ways about it. Shit just gets introduced out of the blue, then skipped over for it to only get weirder a few episodes later. This show's plot is so weird that for this video I tried to recap it with my only assistance being a heavily blacked out Wikipedia article, but all it produced was 20 minutes of me speedrunning an aneurysm. So I made a second attempt at it, this time with a whiteboard to help better illustrate the plots. Now, I could better illustrate the plot by, just showing you some of the anime, but honestly, it wouldn't help. Most of the stuff I'm about to say is explained largely through offhand comments from the characters, so visuals would not help. I'd say that the studio might have needed to work more on their visuals, but MAPPA made this show. The last thing they need to do now is work on the visuals. First, we've got to discuss the title, you see, because the title is Punchline, but in Japanese, that's Panchirain. Panchirain. This is because Panchira is the Japanese word for panty shot. And the entire premise was thought up by two people who thought, what if there's a ghost who destroys the entire fucking earth when he looks at a girl's panties? This is the closest thing we get to coherence in this entire show. So, there's 5 main characters, them being Ito, Rabura, Meika, Narugino, and Yuta, and they all live in one house. Now, in the background of the world, there is a terrorist organization called the Kyume Group, who have been slightly inactive since their leader, who was Kyume, died. It starts off with Yuta being caught up in a bus jacking with a terrorist. So, this terrorist tries to hijack the bus, but I didn't realize this would shake around so much shit. Now, this terrorist tries to hijack the bus, but is taken out by a superhero called Strange Juice. Now, Strange Juice is an orange-themed Mahou Shoujo type character, though it might be a bit close to Sentai as well. And so she's about to take out the terrorist, right? But then they get her on the back foot. However, then Yuta looks at Rabura's panties. Rabura is also on the bus, accidentally flashes her panties, and Yuta suddenly goes Super Saiyan, taking out the terrorist by pushing them into a river. When they are rescued by Strange Juice on the side of the river, they're hit by lightning. Yuta then wakes up and is greeted by a cat called Chiranosuke. I'm just gonna call him Cat because that's a long fucking name. But this cat informs them that they are now a ghost. That is right, in that flash of lightning, Yuta's spirit was separated from his body. So now Yuta has his spirit here. So there's Yuta brackets S, spirit form. And this is because someone else has taken over his body. We're not sure who, but in order to get his body back, he needs the Mandala Gandala. When Yuta reawakens, he also realizes that every time he looks at someone's panties, a meteor strikes the earth and everyone dies. So I'm just going to add what I like to call the Buffon. That's a big fuck off meteor. After the meteor hits the earth, Yuta goes back in time with the help of Chiranosuke, the cat, and the cat informs him, yes, you've got to save the earth. Also quickly revealed is that Narugino, the person who is in his apartment block, is Strange Juice. So I'll just put a small link between the two there. Meanwhile, Ito, who lives in his house, she's a hikikomori and a bit of a gamer, she gets a mysterious package. A package with a small bear in it called Muhi. Muhi is sent by her cousin and told to be kept safe under Ito. Ito tries to hide it but fails. Suddenly, someone tries to steal Muhi. Supposedly belonging to the Kyume Group, they are the Turtle Man. So, the Turtle Man tries to steal Muhi, but when this happens, they are confronted by a superhero. Now, this superhero is called Kenji Miyazawa. Miyazawa Kenji tries to prevent this from happening, but makes a fool of themselves, and it's up to the girls to get back the turtle. Then, the next day, it turns out Rabura is a bit down in the dumps. That's because she's meant to be a psychic, right? A psychic with amazing psychic powers, and she got this psychic powers because every day when she was a child, she used to have strange dreams where she'd wake up in the middle of the night and she would send off fax messages. Now, she'd send off random fax fax messages in her sleep, and we're not sure where to. Meika then goes to Rubberer in an attempt to try and cheer her up, and to do so, she wears a pigeon mask and sings a special song. This is the only bit of the anime I am going to play for you now because it's just too catchy. Then, another evening, it turns out that Rubberer has a date, and this date is with a man called Glees. Now, Glees is well, an American fella, except things go badly wrong because the spirit of Yuta realizes he can possess Rubberer if she's close enough to Cinnamon. Turns out Glees is not here for Rubberer. Glees is actually here for Meika because Glees is involved with the NSA. That's right, the American National Surveillance Agency. I think it's one of them. He's trying to get access to Meika because he needs to have her protection against the Kyume group, who he believes has an impending attack on the NSA. But this all goes down. Something happens. This is what results in a disastrous date, and eventually all of them kind of fall out. Meanwhile, Ito has received a terrible message. You see, there's a video with names on it, and these names are all of girls from her school, 2 of which have just been murdered. So at her school, she was made fun of. In fact, she was bullied quite heavily because she had a crush on her teacher, or her teacher had a crush on her. I'm forgetting, but once again, minor details. Ito now is a hikikomori, but these bullies are now dying. But the thing about this video is that, well, now Ito's name is in it, implying that she is going to die next. Oh yeah, Meika is a robot. What you gonna do about it? She was designed by her grandfather, and there's a funny sequence where they think, oh, is she a robot or is she just pregnant? Those two things are not mutually exclusive, just to let you know. And that video from earlier does come true because Yuta wakes up to find the mangled corpse of Ito at a shrine in the middle of the snow. As it turns out, whoever made that video made true with their promise. Yuta then goes back in time one day to try and prevent Ito from leaving. However, when this happens, what Ito reveals is that she is the person who originally made the video to get revenge on the bullies. However, now her name has been added to this list, probably by the Kyume group. As it turns out, the person who is trying to murder Ito is actually her teacher, who is associated with the Kyume group, except guess what? He's actually possessed by the spirit of the original Kyume. Narugino, while transforming into strange juice, uses up a special capacity known as Uber. So Uber is something that she is able to do to summon her transformative powers. Problem is, she's going to die if she Ubers too much. She starts Ubering all over the place and then dies. Oh, and another thing we found out about Narugino. So Narugino grew up in Uber Labs. I'll just put another... I don't have much space on the board now, do I? So Uber Labs was where there are 3 children who are being experimented on Akira style. And these 3 children are... I've written pain here. I'm not going to correct it, I just find this shit funny. Gudoko, Pine, and Chiyoko. Chiyoko actually knew a special little song which she used to sing, and guess what? Narugino knows that exact same song, because guess what? Narugino is Chiyoko, who is also Strange Juice, and they are able to go Uber because of Uber Labs. However, clearly something has changed, because Chiyoko doesn't look much like Narugino. But now we get to the 31st of December, and a big fuck-off meteor is coming to destroy everything. Well, this is because of something that happened involving the United States nuclear satellite. Upon Glees asking Meika to have a check, thinking that the Kyume Kai was going to suddenly use their nuclear capacities, well, she had a check, found nothing was wrong, but the big fuck-off meteor destroys the world regardless. However, before that happens, Yuta manages to find the Nandala Gandala, and with the help of Kenji Miyazawa, because Kenji Miyazawa can actually see Yuta, because guess what? Kenji Miyazawa is Yuta from a different timeline. Shows him the Nandala Gandala, and the Nandala Gandala says U-turn, because Yuta now has to go back into the past. Guess what? The person who possessed Yuta's body by the side of the river was Yuta himself from the future. So now the spirit version of Yuta is hovering around here, doing all this stuff that we've done here, you know, this simple turn of events. And so Yuta wakes up and then proceeds to try and change the timeline. He sees the teacher is snooping around their house earlier, but he decides he'll go after the teacher early. However, in going after the teacher early, is then stopped by Chiranosuke. Chiranosuke wants to keep the teacher alive because the teacher being alive is what drives the group apart, which causes them to come together in whatever happens in episode 6. I forgot what happens in the first part of episode 6. Yuta then gets a package from his sister. His sister is never properly explained, and this will be especially weird when we get into the events later. And this package is, guess what? The costume for Kenji Miyazawa. So Yuta dons the clothing of Kenji Miyazawa and reenacts all the same events of the timeline. It's only when Glees comes over that they notice a slight change. You see, Glees, yes, he works for, I'll just put the feds down here because what corkboard is complete without him. But here's the thing, he's also working for the Kyume group, who, guess what, also have control over the, well, Glees claims to be one of the feds because he wants Meika to hack into the feds so that she can check if someone has hacked into the feds. However, no one has hacked into the feds, and by her hacking into the feds, they're able to get control of their nukes on their satellite. I'm pronouncing it like this, the nukes. The feds have access to nukes, which is then given to the Kyume group, and as a result, they then enact the big fuck-off meteor, because by using the nukes on the meteor, it hits it into the oncoming path of Earth. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me. By the way, he is told by the Turtle Man. Let's just draw one down to here, so the turtle just says the turtle down here, and you know what, it's good we're not specifying a gender because that will become very, very apparent later. You see, it was revealed slightly earlier that Yuta is actually a girl, or at least their body is a girl, because Yuta was also Uber Labs, because Yuta was Pine. Yuta was Pine, and Narugino was Chiyoko, and there was Guriko. However, as they were trying to escape Uber Labs, they all Ubered too hard, and they all swapped bodies, because this shit is confusing enough already. Chiyoko is technically Narugino, a spirit, except Chiyoko's body is being controlled by Yuta. Meanwhile, the Turtle Man reveals themselves to actually be Guriko, who is the one who didn't get away from Uber Labs, and is now working with the Kyume group to try and bring about the big fuck-off meteor. This kind of battle ensues with Yuta getting a syringe, which knocks him out for 2 days, meaning he can't tell Meika not to look at the satellite and then go into the feds, which gives them the nuke. So now the Kyume group are about to destroy the bloody Earth. However, Meika realizes there is one way she can get around it, and that is by hacking it once again. She hacks the planet, fellas. As she is hacking the planet, they all need to fight off the Kyume group, because Meika was given a prophecy by Gramps to form the Justice Punch. Gramps actually built Meika because, guess what, he was sent the fax messages from Rubberer when she was possessed, and that was to build Meika. He then tells her to form the Justice Punch. The Justice Punch coming from the Hindi word for 5, which is why Meika adopted Narugino, had her living in a bin in Sendai for 5 years. This is a plotline they explain in like 2 seconds. And then, as a result, trained her to become Strange Juice. Sorry to anyone who speaks Hindi, or to any Japanese people who might have, well, known a bit more about the pronunciation there. I need to start rubbing stuff off. Oh, look, it's time to rub one out. Hey, hey, easy joke. Whoa, hey. They are the Justice Punch now, and so they have to fight off the Kyume group, who are now coming to invade them with the help of the feds, because apparently they now have control of the US Army, who are blaming the Justice Punch for gaining control of their nukes, when in fact it's the Kyume group. So as a result, the Justice Punch fight them off, and this involves Narugino turning into Strange Juice one more time, which she Ubers too hard and she's about to die. Guriko, who is also now Pine, who is also the Turtle Man, who is also part of the Kyume group, feels regret for their actions and offers to switch bodies back to the original where it was. So this means that Guriko can go back into Guriko's body, which is currently owned by Narugino, and die in the place of Narugino, who is also Chiyoko. As Narugino is about to do it, suddenly Pine, who is also Yuta, who is also not Yuta's ghost, who is also Yuta from the future, who is also Chiyoko, decides, no, I'm going to take your place, I'm going to die instead of you, and now this means that you can go and seek forgiveness. So Guriko does that. The Yuta from the past, who is the spirit of Yuta, who is currently possessing Rubberer this entire battle, decides, you know what, I've drawn an extra line, I don't care at the moment. He decides, well, I'm going to now use my power to go back in time. I'm going to go back in time because what I need to do is I need to find Muhi, who has the important regenerative abilities that allows for everyone to go Uber as well as to go back into their bodies and stuff, because Muhi can regenerate. Muhi is the key to all of this. He goes back in time so he can possess Rubberer in a younger body so she can then send the fax messages to the grandpa, who will then build Meika, who will then tell her to set up the Justice Punch and also recruit Narugino to become Strange Juice, who was also previously... Well, Yuta has gone back in time, and suddenly the four of them discover a new cat. And this cat is one they call Chiranosuke. This is a fairly normal cat and not the spirit cat that guided Yuta at the beginning. So it's implied that Yuta, who is also Pine, who is also Chiyoko, then goes back in time to become Rabara, to send the fax machines to the grandpa, and then goes to possess the cat, who instructs Yuta to become in spirit, who then instructs Yuta to become Kenji Miyazawa. This show is fucking mental. And that was that. Or at least I assume that will be that when I get around to filming it. I'm writing this long in advance and I'm recording this before I start. I suppose you must be wondering what I think of Punchline, and honestly, I actually don't half mind it. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. I don't even think it does one thing well enough to make it a must-watch, but what I've realised is that it is truly unique. I made a video a few months ago about what was the most anime-as anime to ever anime, and I think Punchline could easily fit that bill. None of this shit would have worked in any other medium besides anime. And truth be told, that's why I can't bring myself to dislike it. I kinda like people who say, sod it, let's just get anime as balls and write a plot around it later. Now, there is a right way to go about this idea, and it's called Haruhi, but we often forget the shows that try to do this that are a bit rough around the edges. And that's why a piece of me still admires this anime. Anyway, that was me ending this video on a punchline. Oh please, you should have seen that one coming.